Mic check. Mic. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Oh,
Morning, sir.
Yes,
Morning,
sir.
sir.
Yeah.
okay, guys. All right. All right, guys. First thing, apologies for the late start. Did you get my message just now? Oh, right. Yeah, I see some people give me a thumbs up. Yeah. Did you guys have any trouble joining the meeting? Did it tell you that the meeting didn't exist? Anybody?
Yes, sir, it was saying invalid.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, so apparently, if you... Oh, hold on, this thing's too loud. Right, so apparently if you delete your calendar event, it also deletes the Zoom meeting. Right, so I had some duplicate calendar events, and I seem to have deleted the meeting instead of just the event. So heads up to those of you that using Zoom. That one is a new one for me. All right. If you delete a calendar event that Zoom creates, it will delete the meeting that you created. So luckily they have a meeting recovery thing, but that took a little time. But we're here, and I see most people have joined. All right. I do have some good news for some of us. So right before I share that, guys, what's happening to the Zoom profile pictures? Right, that was one of the first requirements of the class, right? Either we work with a camera or we work with profile pictures. And I know the camera is going to be tricky. So that's why I say Zoom profile pictures. So everyone, right, should have a Zoom profile picture or have the camera on. It's up to you guys, right? But we do need to have a somewhat let me try and make up a word here. Humanistical feel to these meetings. All right, guys. Confirm. So give me a thumbs up, those of you who are working on updating their Zoom profile pictures ASAP. Right? I should only see the thumbs up come from the people who don't have them picture up. Yeah, cool, cool. I see one or two popping in now, so that's good. All right, guys. All right, so I'm very happy that about probably a little bit above half the class did submit their sketches. I was going through a couple of them over the weekend, and I'm glad that we submitted those. Yeah, Gregory, what's up?
Sir, I missed the first class. I'd asked for the brief, but I never get it. But I missed the first class.
So
I missed the assignment, and I need to register. I think for the topic.
yeah, man.
I was
No
seeing
pro-
something online where I saw everybody register and they picked a topic, so I need to catch up on that.
All right, no worries. Speaking on that, there are some updates that we did to our whole class site setup, right? So let me start with that one. All right. Okay, so firstly, those who might have just been joining us, right? So this module is completely online. Hold on, can you guys see my screen? I don't know. Hold on. Here we go. All right, good. You can see my screen, okay, guys? All right. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. All right, good. Try and connect to this meeting as well here. So it's not. Yeah, so if you see two of me in the meeting, it's just me connecting again with my phone to make sure that. All right. Okay, guys, right. So we did do some updates to the calendar. So that's the first thing. Oh, wait, let me start from the beginning. For those of you who might be joining for the first time, this module is completely online. Most of you know me already. I'm the computing lead for CSA. So if you have any other questions about any other modules, just reach out to me. You can reach out to me via email for official requests. For quick response, reach out to me on WhatsApp, right? Half of you supposed to have my number already. Just pass it around and you can reach out to me. So everything operates from our class website. You guys have been here about 3 years now. So you would have known it from DDM. We're using the same class website. So you head over to the class website, everything is there, all the meeting links and everything like that. Speaking of meeting links, I need to make sure that my other links are working, as I accidentally deleted one link today. Yep, I need to recover this meeting as well. All right. Okay. So the lecture meeting link should be back online. I just recovered it. So that's fixed. All right. So when you go to the class website, there is a timeline up top, very important, because that will update as time goes on. And we have all our class meeting links here. We have our class whiteboard here. So this is where we'll take all our notes for class, and all the assignments are below. All right. For those of you who might have missed the first class, and when you go onto the class website, there's a class recordings section, right? And that's actually a newly upgraded section. If you were back in DDM with me, how you access the class recordings has changed, right? So if you click class recordings here, you'll be taken to this new page. And essentially what this is all or most of the classes will be recorded there, and we get a little meeting summary there, which is a cool new feature of Zoom. So you guys can get a quick recap of what happened in the class, and usually it picks up most of the requests that is asked. So most of the assignments and that stuff, it will detect it as a kind of a action item, which is great. Be warned though, AI summaries can have errors. I've spotted 1 or 2. So ultimately, the best way to get the information is to actually come to class, right? But nevertheless, this is computing, so we're using up all the technology. All right, guys. So that's just a quick recap. All right. So also I added a new computing button up top for those of you who know the website. So this just makes it easier to jump to the different courses that we do. All right, so back over to 3D modeling. The next update that we have here is the schedule. So I'm just going to zoom in here so that you guys can see my screen. Okay. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, the class schedule is going to be super important to us. The way that it works, you just hover over here and you scroll left and right. This is basically a timeline. So this is where you come to get all of your assignment due dates and all of that. We don't post assignment due dates on the handout. We don't send it in email. It's all just a status update. All right. Everybody's living in the world of status updates, right? So this is no different. So you just head over to the computing, to the 3D modeling website. There are some updates that we did from last week. As you know, the university opened a little late due to the elections, so we had to reshuffle a couple things. Made some updates. So those of you who, I appreciate any errors that you might spot on the website or on the timeline. This website is completely run by the computing team, also by CSA as well, which is why you submit your studio projects here. So it's not super perfect. So if you spot any errors, just let me know. All right, so if we look at the timeline, so we started last week, which is the 8th, and any items that you want to see. So for example, for the practical session, we did some class, we discussed some class rescheduling, that kind of stuff. For now, the classes remain on Mondays, right? And some of you might notice that you have Miss Adams as your second lecturer, but there are some timetable clashes, so it looks like I will be your captain throughout this entire module. With that said, there was a challenge of maybe we would have to put some classes on Saturday. We took a vote. Most people prefer Monday. We're trying to see how best we can fit that in. Ultimately, it just depends on the schedule also of the lecturers, right? For now, it remains on Mondays, but I will put a little caveat to say there might be sometimes when we might have to reschedule for Saturday. I'm not sure, but for now, I'm trying to make myself available so that we can just do Mondays only. All right, so that was a little bit of a mouthful. You guys following me so far? Give me a thumbs up if you're following me. If you're here, right? I hope you don't just have me as background music while you do other stuff. Hope you're paying diligent attention, right? All right, some other updates. What else do we have here? So we started the major project, which is 50% a class grade. The major project is broken down into checkpoints, and I help you with those checkpoints throughout the module. By the way, can you guys hear me okay? My music isn't playing too loud or anything like that. All right, Sunjay. Okay, cool. Joel, thanks for that confirmation. All right. So we updated the timeline of these checkpoints, and last week we started with checkpoint 1, which is basically creating our design for a final project. By the way, if you guys need to access the handouts for anything, you can find them all on the class website. Just scroll down and go to the presentation section right here. Sorry, go to the coursework project right here, which is 50%. This is where you find all of your handouts, right? So this is our major project here. If you click on it, it should just pop up like that. This is what it looks like. We went through it last week, so we're not going to go through it again this week. Please read it on your own if you haven't, or you can watch last week's class. We also have a theory assignment, but we're not going to discuss that here because we're dealing with practicals here. So, but we discussed that. We discussed that already. All right. So, in terms of the updated timeline, so checkpoint 1 is going to be due next week. Is it this Saturday? Yeah, this Saturday, right? checkpoint one is super easy, guys. You're basically doing your design for the lookout tower that we're going to be modeling throughout the semester. All right. Most of you submitted a sketch, which we did in class. Class was a little bit rushy than usual because it was our first class and we had to talk about scheduling and all that stuff. Usually, most of these classes, I talk for the first hour, and for the next hour, we work. Some of you finish early and you can leave. Some of you might take a little longer and ask questions. It's no problem. The major project, we primarily deal with the working of the major project in the practical session, but we also do a follow-up in the lecture session. So if anybody had any clashes or any issues, apart from the class recordings, you can just, when you come to the lecture session, we dedicate a little time to assist with the major project. As you know, it's 50% of your grade, so please don't mess that up. This course is very easy to pass, guys, very easy. All right, so, a little surprise. So, for those of you who submitted your sketch while we were doing it in class, right? Which, let me see here. Here we go. All right, yes. So those of you who submitted during class, which was about 40-ish percent, no, 50-ish percent of the class, which is good. Most people did submit the following day, so it's fine. I'll still give that to you. So those of you who submitted quote unquote on the day, you guys will get some bonus points, right? All right. Oh, that sound, Marvin? Yes, Williams. I know that.
I said Marvin, no, that's what I was wondering if it's Marville or Marvin.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, man. So, okay. Actually, no. It's not Marville or Marvin, actually. Who else is here? I meant to ask. I'm trying to look through this, through my list.
Good morning, sir. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, man, I can hear you.
So I tried submitting my sketch, but the link on the board wasn't working. I was pressing it and it wasn't going through for me to submit last week.
Oh,
Same,
okay.
sir.
All right. No worries. No worries. No worries. So, hold on. Let me come to the technical challenges a little bit later. I'm looking for somebody. Is Sarta here?
Yes, sir.
All right, Sarta. So what do you think? We can give out a little bonus for submitting on the day?
Sure.
You sound upset.
I mean, if the other people need a little bit more time, it would be great to give them time. And
That's
bonus
great,
to them,
Sarta. I see you there on behalf of the class campaigning. And that's
Yes,
good.
sir.
That's good spirit. So, here's what I'm going to do. Usually for checkpoint 1, because we kind of do that in class, I normally collect it also as a class activity, right? Can anybody remind me, how do we do class participation in this module? Who remember?
Well, sir, we come to class, we do the activities and submitted during the class, so that counts as class participation.
All right, cool. And if you look on the site here, scroll down, I've added this other section here that says class participation. So this gives us a real-time checklist, both for me and for you. So if I recorded data incorrectly, let me know. So what happens here is that throughout the semester, we'll have random class activities, right? If you're here, you do the activity, then I just record that you did the activity, right? At the end of the module, depending on how much activities we have, I check them up and mark it out at 10. Notice that you can see you're supposed to can see my screen. Let me zoom in a little bit. So notice that you see some question marks here because we don't know what the activities will be. We don't know when they will be. But if you're here and you do it, then I will record that you did do it. All right. So we did a sketch last class, but it was a little bit crammed because we were trying to figure out the whole schedule thing and all of that. So I'm going to give you guys some extra time on this class activity, right? So today we're going to do our second class activity. And these class activity kind of double because it is a part of the major project, but I'm counting it also towards your class activity. So that means that you guys are getting double points. Of course, you have to do it today. That's the trick. It's not homework, guys. We work on it in class. Luckily, we have 2 classes for the day. So if there's any issues with the first class, maybe the Revit not doing what it's supposed to do, and we can't really stop to figure it out, when we meet again in the next class, I'll see if we can find some time to help you guys out. So, this major project has multiple checkpoints. Remember how you submit the checkpoints? You use the handout. Everything is digital, guys. This is computing. So the submission button is on the handout. The handout is on the website. So you go to the website, you click on the major project. When it pops up, you scroll down and you look for the submit button. So checkpoint 1 requires that you do a design sketch and then you do a schematic CAD drawing. Today we're going to do the schematic CAD drawing. The deal is, if you guys submit this to me today, you also get points towards your class activity. All right? How that sounds, Sarto?
Good, sir.
All right,
But
cool.
a little bit time though. A little bit extra time because.
No problem, no problem. So those of you who didn't get to participate last class, you have the opportunity to participate today. So, tell you what, I give you guys, ideally you're supposed to submit it like during class, but sometimes there can be some technical difficulties. We can't necessarily wait for every person to catch up. So if we leave you a little behind, just get it done by today. All right. Now, one important point, the class activities is not, what do I say it now? Checkpoint 1 grade is different from class activity. Class activity is almost like an attendance. You participated, I just put a checkbox that you participated. The actual grading of your checkpoint 1 is due on Saturday, right? How do I know this? Because I check the timeline at the top of the website. So if I go here and I see checkpoint 1, I see that it is going to be between September 8th and September 20. So checkpoint 1 is due September 20. We're just working on it in class, and if you happen to submit it in class, you get double points. If you happen to have not submitted it during class, or maybe you missed class, then just submit it to me by September 20, because that is the deadline date. All right. Now, not all class activities will take this format, like, you're doing an assignment, but you're also getting class activity points. Sometimes it's totally different, right? Sometimes I might ask you to run outside and do something and come back in, and that counts as a class activity. Class activity can be anything, right? And that's the fun nature of it. It can be any random thing that will pop up whenever. But all you have to do is participate, and you get grades towards it. Right? Sound like a win-win for everybody. Right? What you say, Jada? Sounds like a win-win? Put up my messages as well. Jada here? If you might not up this, you can always send me a message, guys. Jada not reach the mic yet. What about Mateo? Oh, that sound, Mateo? Sound like a win-win?
Yeah, good man.
All right, cool. All right, cool. What other updates do we have? Also, there's a section on the website that says students that register for the class website, and I also put the presentation topics. Right? The stuff that are in red means that some of us have not chosen a topic yet. All right? So you will be given a topic because we already went through the class where you pick a topic. By the way, in case you missed that class, nobody knows what the topics are. All right? As a matter of fact, if you look on the handout for that assignment, those topics are actually redacted. Right? A topic is released every class. Am I right? Yes, every class.
Sir, you never revealed 1 and 2 last week.
Right, I did.
Okay.
In case you're trying to remember what the topics are, the link, where is it? If you don't remember, you can just click any one of these links here, take you to the mirror board. We reveal them on the class mirror board actually. So here we go. So topic 1 and 2 are already revealed. Everybody has 2 weeks to do the topic, right? So for example, last week, Daniel's group and Chambers group, they got their topics. That means they are not presenting this week, but they will be presenting next week. Right, Davis? Is Davis here?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. However, this week we will be revealing topic 3 and 4, but more on that when we come back to the lecture session, right? Can we deal with that in the lecture session? So, sticking to the updates, so the class website is here, and those of you who didn't get a chance to pick the topics, we will do it in the lecture session today. I will assign you to a topic. All right, I think those are all the updates so far. Any questions? Yeah.
Yes, the lecture section is at 2, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's gonna be at 2. All right. And maybe at the end of class, I ask you to just click the button to just make sure that it is working, because as I say, I accidentally deleted it. For those of you who just joined in the class, the website of course have the grades. You can go check grades here and you'll be taken to the grades section. So of course there are no grades yet because we haven't done any work yet, but you can always check the criteria at the top. If you want to know how you will be graded on something, just check the criteria. All right, so that way you can have a targeted approach to the work that you guys are submitting. All right, I think that's it for these. Let's jump over to the class mirror board, and we are going to. Okay, so we're going to be working on the over here, right? So we're going to be working on the schematic drawings today. We did the design sketch last class. For the design sketch, you guys needed to have sketched a floor plan. I know it's a 2-story building. Some of you did 2 plans, and I think some did 1. It's fine. Whether you did 1 or 2, because we changed it to a 2-story building. You will still get your floor plan mark. What's important though, you need to do one section, one elevation, and a site plan. So there are some examples. I did it in class, and where is it? Right. Enable that here. Right. So I did it in class, guys, and this is what it looked like. So I did my sketch, my site. I picked out some images that I used as inspiration, spoke a little bit about that. And I did my floor plan sketch. So you guys should have something looking like this at the end of the day, right? Remember, your water body can be anything from a river to a pond, it doesn't matter. But you must have a water body and you must have a slope. All right. So this is what I got this from most people, so that's good. Remember, you have up to Saturday to submit. Does anybody remember what's the policy for late work in computing? Anybody?
1% per day.
That's correct. 1% per day. Right. So
you're saying people submitted this example of already?
Yes, people submitted it. We did it as a class activity, right? But that class activity is going to be extended to today. So you still have the opportunity to do it as a class activity. All right. But checkpoint 1 is due on Saturday, meaning after Saturday is 1% a day. All right. So you want to be handing this to me before Saturday. Also, there's also a cutoff. Ultimately, I can't be collecting an assignment at the beginning of the semester and marking it at the end. So there is always a time when I will say, all right, guys, I'm no longer collecting checkpoint 1, but I consider myself to be a little not so evil. So, I mean, I would say just submit this stuff on time. All right, guys. At some point, it don't make you, if you submit it too late, it don't even make sense. You know, if you submit it 30 days late, that's 30% off. I mean, you know what I mean? So just submit the work. All right. So continuing with what we were discussing last class, right? We were speaking about going from an idea to a 3D model, right? And we spoke about this process that usually in architecture, or especially in architecture school, when it's the beginning of your studio project, you start to collect conceptual ideas, you start to make sketches in your sketchbook, and all that stuff. At some point, most of us start to develop the work in a 3D environment. Some of us use SketchUp. I figured most of us are going to start moving to a BIM environment. And the whole reason for showing you guys this process is for you to realize that you don't want to necessarily jump from a sketch, a hand-drawn sketch, to a full-on BIM model. Usually there's a progressive kind of step there, and this is where we said we do a little bit of sketch refinement. So from sketch to sketch refinement, and then to our AEC modeling tools, right? I wonder if Karen remember what AEC means. Karen? You remember? What about Hanji? Is Hanji here? No one?
So you hear me?
Yeah, man, I hear you now.
So architecture, engineering, and construction.
All right. Oh, you take so long to Google it.
So it was all only the 100, but also my name is 1J.
Sorry, 1J. I know the A, I know that is a H, you know. But not Hanji. 1J. Don't worry. I'll get it. Don't worry. All right. Yeah. So that's what AEC means, right? So AEC tools mean that you have tools specifically for architecture, engineering, and construction, which is why you have things like a window tool or a wall tool or something like that, right? So, for example, Revit is a AEC tool, and we're going to be using it today. But I just want to demonstrate something real quick. So, I mean, even if, let's say that you did a sketch, where's my, here we go, right. And a lot of the times when you sketch, you know what, I'm going to attempt to use my, oh wait, to use this guy here. Yeah, right. So, you know, you might sketch something, and I'm not using a grid here or anything, which is, you know, which is what we perhaps should do. But if I say this is around 10 feet, and I say, okay, I want a room to be about this side here. Yeah, I want my room to be about here. And I know here to here is about 10 feet. And I put a line about this point, right? Francis, about what distance is this here? Francis here? Try?
Sir, about 5 foot.
All right, could be about 5 foot. Yeah, that's correct. Could be about 5 foot. And let's say that, all right, with the rest of this space, I want to have a bed here, you know, and then I want to have a seating area here, so maybe a sofa. Oh, drawing with the mouse is not the easiest thing. And then I want to have, let's just say, you know what, a little center table here. All right. I was just talking to Shy. Yeah. So what do you think? You think all of this can fit in this space? Shy?
No, sir.
All right, cool. Because then you start to wonder to yourself, all right, about what size is a bed? Of course, you have different sizes of a bed. What size is a couch? You have different sizes of a couch. What size is a table? But the idea is that when you guys are designing, sometimes I don't know if any experience this, the idea is in your head flowing, especially when you're in the zone. People call it a state of flow, right? Sometimes we describe it as in the zone, and ideas are flowing. And what happens is that sometimes when we pause the flow of that idea, we kind of lose the momentum. And things that pause the flow of those design ideas could be the tools itself. I'm just sketching here because I just have this idea in my head. I want to put a couch here and a bed there, you know, and I have other ideas of what I want to do with this space. I want to put a pool table here, you know what I mean? So we can play some pool, and I have all these ideas for this space. The most important thing is that I need to get it from my head into the tangible world. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm putting it in my sketchbook. I'm putting it in Miro. The idea is coming from my head. Now, if I compare this to, let's say that I was in Revit here, all right? And there is, I think I have a window that's hiding under some other window here. Okay, here it is, right. And I'm just going to use the default template here. Start up Revit like that. I'm going to arrange Revit back to the default. This over here. Come on. All right, fine. I'll just leave this here. No, I think most people have them Revit like this. So this is down here. Something like that. I think that is the default. Right. So let's say I have this, I'm working on this thing here. Okay, yeah. This work? No, that doesn't really work. Okay, good. I'm trying to take up all of my screen space. Yeah. So let's say that I have this idea. Now, I'm going to repeat that same process, but in Revit now, right? So I'm going to go for, let's say it's the same thing. I want to draw this room and I want the room to be 10 by 10. All right. All right. I need to choose my wall tool and all right. I'm going to draw 10 by 10. So that is about this, you know, and then in about half the room. So I'm just going to put a little line here. So this was about halfway in the room here. All right, good. And I had another line here. Let's use my line tool again. Put another line here. All right. So this was that room that I was doing here, right? And I think I said I wanted to put a bed here, right? So I said, all right then. I need to go to components. And then I'm going to go to load family now and to look around. Where do I find bed? Furniture. Here we go. Beds. All right. Try one of this smaller bed. Maybe this one. Yeah, I think I like how that one look. I choose this one. All right, cool. So I have the bed there. Drop the bed there, and I realized that, John, you know, so the bed can't fit. So Shy, you were right, right? Now, probably some of you want to know why I'm showing you this. I'm showing you these two processes. I'm gonna put one on the left and one on the right. Now, on the left-hand side, we were just sketching, right? And when we were sketching, you know, everything just flowing and we're just sketching and we're putting with beds and couch and whatever. There is some thought given to the measurement. You know, we know this was 5 feet here. We know that the bed probably can't fit there, but we managed to get much at this point. We managed to reach this point much quicker than when we were in an AEC program and we had to choose the right wall. Then we went into the different tools and then we chose the proper bed. What I'm trying to get at is that getting an idea out of your head by using Sketch can be like way quicker. But it can't say at Sketch. Ultimately, you need to get it in an AEC program because this is where you can get exact sizes and type of bed and all of that stuff. But there is a middle process between these two steps here. And that is what we're going to be focusing today. So if this here is step 1 and this here is step 2, there is a middle process that is here. So we move from here to here to here. And this is called the schematic sketch. Now, why do we have this middle process? Like before, when we leave from Sketch, before we start to model, at the schematic stage, you're still dealing with line work, right? You're not choosing a 3D bed. You're not worrying about the height of the wall. What's the height of the window? What style of window am I going to pick? You're not really going into that detail yet. What you're doing is, you're just doing a more accurate version of this schematic sketch that you have here now. This sketch that you have. So for example, And if I repeat that process, what would happen is that in Revit, you would just use line work. You wouldn't worry about the bed, all of the fine details. We would just be using, we're going to go to view, and we're going to use what's called a drafting view. There we go. And in this drafting view, you're just using line work. That's all you're doing. So for example, take it here. Yeah, this is a little small, and I'll make this a little bigger. Right. And you're just drawing lines to kind of illustrate where everything is. When you're dealing with just simple line work, you get to make adjustments easy without worrying about, all right, maybe this is not the right wall height, or this is not the right wall color, wall texture, right? So that is what we're going to be looking on today in this checkpoint, right? What we're going to be doing is, I'm going to task you guys with doing just two 2D line drawings of the plan and the elevation, right? And what we're going to do is we're just going to worry about the simplistic lines. We're not going to worry about the furniture. Maybe I shouldn't use this example here because we're not going to fit any furniture. It's just about the spaces and the dimensions, right? And the reason that I want you guys to know how to do this is sometimes we get bogged down into all of the three-dimensional features of a software. Like if we spent 15 minutes deliberating trying to find the right representation of the couch that you need to put in your drawing, and then after the end of that process you realize that, oh crap, it can't even fit a couch, it can't even fit a bed in the first place, then you'd have wasted that time. So sometimes it's easy to just deal with things in little shapes before you go all in on the specific design. So before we go all in now and try and in modeling the full thing here, we are going to be doing a schematic drawing, an elevation and a plan of the sketch that we initially did. We're going to convert it from right. We're going to convert the plan from this to this. So Ebe, you following? Do you understand?
Sir, can you use Revit for this, or has to be AutoCAD?
It's going to be Revit, not AutoCAD. Are there any AutoCAD fans in the house?
Yes, sir. Can I do it in AutoCAD?
No, that's good. I thought it was an aging relic.
No.
We used to actually do this in AutoCAD, but the reason that we're going to use Revit is what usually happens is, you know, the industry is moving towards Revit, yeah, for sure. But there's a lot of people that are Revit experts that didn't even know that Revit can be used like AutoCAD. Like, if they need to draw something in line work, they would go back to AutoCAD and draw the line work and then import it into Revit. So Revit actually has like a built-in AutoCAD, and that is what we're going to be using to do the schematic drawing. So for those of you that are AutoCAD fans, I know that AutoCAD is your go-to for drafting, but there is a drafting section in Revit, and we're going to try it out today. For those of you that are Revit fans and you like to do 3D walls and AEC tools, we're going to not move to that just yet. we're going to be using just the simple, dumb line work, right?
Sir, so just drafting the floor plan from the sketch to the
Exactly.
scale one.
And the key for this is that you're going to be now moving from the sketch that was, some of us draw pretty accurately. For those of you who use like a grid when you are drawing, it should be pretty okay. But for some of us, it might be really horrible, like what I was doing, trying to fit a bed in a 5-foot space. You know, but when you're sketching, everything looks fine. So this schematic 2D sketch is to help us quickly, the key word there is quickly, figure out our spaces. Now, you're not going to spend time, like I'm not going to be grading you on like the, where's my sketch? Right. I'm not going to be grading you on line work and things like, did you use the correct hatch for this? Did you have the right symbol for bath, the right symbol for door? It's not about that. The purpose of this 2D schematic drawing is for you to confirm that your proportions and measurements are fine. But I want you to, the challenge to you is I want you to do that without using any 3D features, without using any AEC tools, apart from lines, right? I want you to be able to produce this with just line work in Revit.
Using the same dimensions, 24 feet by 12 feet?
Yeah, using the same, now you're actually going to put dimensions, because when you did the sketch, you know, you might write them on. Some of you might have another room, you know, you might write on the dimensions, but no, you have to kind of flesh it out a little more. All right. I want you to try to use some of the line work tools. So for example, Revit has things like offset. It has things like fillet. I'm talking to you, CAD fans. So when you're using the detail line tool, and we're going to be using detail line, not model line, because we're going to be in a drafting view, right?
Where we find it drafting view, sir?
Right. So we're going to go into that tutorial now. I'm just giving you guys a kind of a preview of what we're going to be doing and why you're going to be doing it, just in case you wonder, you know, why the heck are we using the drafting tools here, right? Yeah, right. So I want you to know how to use the drafting view, and we're just going to use it just for a little bit, and after this we're gone into 3D for those of you that are eager to jump into 3D. All right, so I want us to fire up Revit. Remember, we're going to be moving forward. If for any reason maybe you fall behind of what we're doing in class, don't worry too much about it. We can meet again later. Plus we have the recording, plus we have a summary. Guys, you have no reason to fail this class. There is too much technology behind all the ways you can get the information for this class. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a minute to just fire up your Revit. You can use any version that you want. We are not going to be doing any group work, so we don't have to worry about, you know, everybody using the same version. I know I will be using 24. As I say, I don't like to travel too close to the sun. I don't want to use the latest version, you know, just in case. So right now I'm on 24. I'll be hanging out in 24 for a little while. Maybe next year I'll go to 25. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right. So that's what I want us to do. So just fire up Revit. We'll do the same.
Now,
All right, cool.
okay, so now we're going to open Revit. Now, in Revit, we are going to be going to a new model, right? And we're going to use a metric multidisciplinary template. Now, multidisciplinary simply means that anybody can use this template, whether architect, engineer. It's a template that includes everything for everyone. So we're going to choose that, and we're going to choose OK.
All right. No,
Sir, I don't see that
mostly-
template on mine.
Right, I was just about to say that. So depending on the version of Revit that you're using, when you start up Revit, so for example, I think they updated it in one of those like hot fixes or whatever. I'm missing a window here. Hold on, there's a window hiding behind another window here. I have to find it. Ah. Window's open. Ah, here we go. All right, good. Yeah. Am I back? Yes. So I'm gonna close this. All right. So for some of us, when you go to new project, it's gonna be it's gonna give us only two options to use the multidisciplinary template. You can go to browse and choose from a list of other templates that's here. So some of you might default to residential, right? Some of you might not even have this listing depending on if you have the families downloaded. So I don't want us to worry too much about this stuff because we're going to be doing this when we go to BIM module, and we're going to talk about all of this stuff later. But now, if you end up with residential, just use that. If you end up with multidisciplinary, just use that. That's fine. All right, we're not going to dive too deep into BIM right now. We're just going to focus on the model. All right, does that answer the question? Buddy?
No, but then what about us who have let me tell you what I have.
Oh, yeah.
I have construction template, architectural template, structural template, mechanical template, systems template, electrical template, plumbing template.
All right. Yeah, man, let's work with the architecture.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool.
All right. And this is what Revit looks like when it starts up. Now, we're not going to dive solely into the features of Revit just yet, but we'll be discovering these features as we go along. Now, on the top of Revit, we have our ribbon, and each of these ribbons here are categorized under these headings, right? So for example, you have insert, annotate, and all these different headings. So if we switch to, for example, annotate, then we will get features that are related to annotation, things like dimensions, text, tags, and all of that. And each one of these different topic areas, so for example, if we go to architecture, then we get features under architecture as well, things like wall, window, door, ceiling, and all of these kind of architectural related tools. So that's just a general gist of what happens in our ribbon that is up top. It is controlled by these major headings that we have there. All right. Now, On this side is where we have our properties, and here is where we have pretty much our project browser, right? Now, for the ease of just understanding what we're doing here, we are going to detach the project browser. I'm going to just drag it out so that you see what it is like. And I'm going to expand the properties. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dock the project browser on this side, so that way we can have a better view of the entire project. Now in the middle here we have our viewport, and you might notice our viewport has some of these symbols like these, the elevation symbols, scale, north arrow, and an indication of the drawing boundaries. That's what you
Right. So remember that if you're using a different template, then it will look a little different.
pretty much like defaults that are set up. Now some of these we will use and some we won't use, but for now we're going to just ignore this. And we can zoom in and zoom out with the mouse wheel, and we can click the middle mouse button and pan in order to pan the view. Now our project navigator, project browser over here is what we're going to be concentrating on. And to make this process a little easy to visualize, we are going to actually minimize these categories. So I'm just going to hit minimize here. All right. So this is what our project browser looks like. And when we expand this, we see all these fields. This is what it was, the template was speaking about when they talk about multidisciplinary. So of course, we're going to be using architectural and maybe some under coordination, right? So these are the pretty much the areas that we're going to live for this project. Now, while that's happening there, on the other side is where we have our properties, as you can see here. That's the properties. And basically our properties work where when we click on something, anything we click on in Revit, two things will happen. Any object. So let's say I click on this object. Now what you notice, the ribbon changes and the properties change, right? 1, 2. These two objects will always change depending on what we click on. So for example, if I click on this edge here, notice that I get a different set of ribbon options, and I also get a different set of properties, right? And it tells me what I've clicked on, which is the floor plan. If for example I click on this elevation tool, notice that these change and a little of these change, and so forth and so forth. When I click on any tool in Revit, the ribbon will adjust to show me things that I can.
Oops.
Okay, so now we're going to open Revit, right? And we can the ribbon will adjust to show me things that I can. Okay.
All right. I think my Zoom is glitching a little bit. Hold on there. Let me see if I can fix it for you guys. Hold on a second. Stop this. Okay. Oh. Okay. All right. conventional eye or design, right? Hmm. All right, give me 1 second, guys. Let me just fix my Zoom. Here we go. Okay. Okay. Oh Lord. All right. All right. Yeah.
So now in Revit, we are going to be going.
Okay. All right. Let's see if this works now. Nothing like a little challenge. All right. Tell me if you guys are seeing my screen now. All right. Can you see me? Again, guys?
Yes, sir.
Let's
This
proceed.
change depending on what we click on. So, for example, if I click on this edge here, notice that I get a different set of ribbon options, and I also get a different set of properties, right? And it tells me what I've clicked on, which is the floor plan. If, for example, I click on this elevation tool, notice that these change and a little of these change, and so forth and so forth. When I click on any tool in Revit, the ribbon will adjust to show me things that I can edit, that I can use to edit or manipulate that tool, and the properties will show me parameters for that tool as well. So let's just keep that in mind as we go along. Now, when we are creating stuff in Revit, when we're creating walls and our model, in Revit, when we draw in a plan view, we are also drawing in a 3D view as well. And over here on our project browser, you can see we have 3D views here. So I'm going to expand that. And then in these brackets here, you will see our default 3D view. If I click that, then you notice I now get a three-dimensional view of that same viewport. And I can orbit my 3D view by using the view cube here, right? And I can zoom in and out and pan. Notice that at the top, it tells me that I'm in a 3D view. And previously, I was in a level 1 architectural view. So I can actually go back to my level 1 architectural view, or I can switch to my 3D view. And every time I open another view in Revit, so for example, if I expand elevations and I click on East View, then notice that now I get East View tab up the top. So I can switch to 3D view, East View architectural, or level 1 floor plan, and so forth and so forth. So as I go along, all the views will be open here. Now, back to our mission at hand. Now, to create our sketch, we are not going to be using the 3D view. Actually, we are going to be using a 2D drafting view, and that's what we'll use to refine our design, right? So in order to get a drafting view, we're going to head over to views, and we're going to choose drafting view, and it's going to ask us to create a drafting view. So let's call this view schematic sketch.
All right, you guys with me so far?
I missed that part. Right, just right there. That schematic sketch argument. Sorry.
Right. So you're gonna go to, hold on, when you're in Revit, you're gonna go here. Right. There we go. All right. Right. So you're going to go to view, and then where it says, you look for the symbol that says drafting view. Also note, if your Revit is smaller, like if you made the window smaller, the size of your icon is going to change. So here's that same drafting view. But when Revit is bigger, it's now bigger. So let's keep an eye on that little thing here. So a drafting view is simply, as I was saying, just like 2D drafting in Revit. Kind of like AutoCAD in Revit, right?
Oh, so we want to activate that now?
Yeah, so go ahead and activate that. And it's going to ask you to name it. And I just called it schematic sketch.
And it's not a plan view either. It's simply a blank sheet of paper for us to draw lines on. And this is why when you're in this schematic view, you might notice at the top, whenever we try to maybe go to a different tab, for example, like if we go to the architecture tab, you notice that all these tools here are grayed out, because in this kind of view, we're not going to be drawing 3D walls and windows and all of that stuff. All right. Okay. So
can you please, because the video is playing through your
yeah, go ahead. Oh, you're hearing a double business?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
yes,
sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Sorry.
Yeah, man, go ahead.
It's telling me about a scale 1 to 10.
Just use the default. Well, you can use the default. The scale doesn't matter for what we're doing.
Oh, okay.
So whatever it says to use, you can just use that as default.
All right, no problem.
Sir, is
Right.
drafting view with it select?
Yep, drafting view. right? I think I use 1-to-1, but it doesn't matter. This only matters when we put it on sheets. We're not going to be dealing with sheets for this module. That's when we're going to BIM that you guys are going to do next.
Now, this drafting view is not a 3D view, and it's not a plan view either. It's simply a blank sheet of paper for us to draw lines on. And this is why when you're in this schematic view, you might notice at the top, whenever we try to maybe go to a different tab, for example, like if we go to the architecture tab, you notice that all these tools here are grayed out, because in this kind of view, we're not going to be drawing 3D walls and windows and all of that stuff. All right. Okay. So we're going to be using the annotate tab because we're essentially drawing 2D lines. All right. Now what we're going to do is we are going to grab our sketch. So I'm going to head back over to my digital board. I'm going to, well, let's erase these lines here. So I'm going to select these lines. I'm going to delete them. And I'm going to leave this as is. I'm going to title this sketch. And I'm going to actually save this as an image. And I will just save that to my desktop. There we go. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to head over to insert, and I'm going to import an image, and I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to import that image here. All right, so now we have our sketch as a reference. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to use the proportions of this sketch, but we are not going to use it explicitly. We're just going to use it as a guide as we continue to build this out.
All right, so you guys are going to be using your own sketch. In my case, I did the sketch in Miraboard. All right. So for you, you can just take a screenshot of whatever you submitted and just do it that way.
From this sketch here, we're going to kind of determine what our floor plan will be like. I mean, from what we see here, it's a relatively straightforward floor plan, 2 floors on top of each other with a deck. So rather than spending time to sketch the floor plan, we are going to convert this into a more refined sketch, 2D sketch, and then from that we're going to generate those plans. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to scale this. So we know that we wanted our drawing here to measure about let's say from here to here, we wanted it to be about 20 feet, or let's call it 6 meters. So with that said, we can start to scale our drawing, right? So I'm going to go to annotate and go to the detail line, and I'm going to draw a line here, and I'm going to put this at 6 meters. I'm going to write 6M, press enter. So this is what actually 6 meters looks like. So you can see this drawing is, is very small, and we can see it says 6,000 millimeters because I'm in millimeters. Remember, we chose the metric template, so now we are in millimeters. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this here. So I'm going to click on this drawing, use the move tool. I'm going to just grab it right here, and then I am going to stick it pretty much right there. Okay, so this line is white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this line, right click, and I'm going to choose to override my graphics, what is in the view, and I'm going to override the element, And I'm going to change the color to red. Choose OK, choose apply. And there we go. Now this is red, so I can see it more clearly. All right, great. So I'm going to move this line, or I'll just move the drawing. So I'll go to move again. Notice when I click on the drawing, the ribbon changes and the properties change. Remember, we spoke about that earlier. So I click on the drawing, then I go to move, and I'm going to put this right here. So that's pretty much there. Now I'm going to go to scale, which is here, and I'm going to choose the start length, and I'm going to choose the end length. I'm going to hold shift so I can grab it just about there, and then I'm going to choose the new distance now, which is that.
All right, so I know that now. Has anybody ever scaled a drawing in Revit before? All right, no. Let me ask you this question anyway. Is this feature new to anybody? Anybody ever used a scale tool before? Yes, if you have. Thumbs up if you have. All right, cool. All right, so everybody understand that process, because some persons might get a little confused at that point.
Excuse
So,
me.
yeah, go ahead.
It doesn't matter which unit we use, right?
That is correct. That is correct. In Revit, you can just type whatever units you want to use.
Okay.
Yeah, man. All right, let's proceed.
So now this is measuring 6 meters. Now these are temporary measurements. Notice that if I click this, it comes up. If I want the temporary measurement to remain, I can just click this here, and then it will always remain there as 6 meters.
Sir?
Now this is a little
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you repeat that part of the video where you scale down the line, please?
Right, so what I did is, if you want to scale anything in Revit, did I have to create this one, right? Right, so all you need to do is to drag in whatever image that you want to go into Revit. So for example, if I do a screenshot here and grab this image, and I'm not using my actual sketch, I'm just using a sample sketch. Okay, so that screenshot that I took just now is, I saved it to my desktop. It's taking a little while because I have a lot of screenshots. Come on. Right, there we go. So if I, oops, go back to Revit. So if I drag this image into Revit, release it, there is my image there, right? However, in my case, let's see, if I go to annotate, and let me just draw a line here, and I'm also going to draw a line, oops, let me just draw a line here. So if I did a dimension between these 2 points, this is what my dimension is here. So it's 1 foot. Obviously this should be 24 foot. So in order to scale this, what I need to do, I need to have an idea of how long 24 foot should be. Because right now in real life, this is only 1 foot in length. So what I did was to draw a line. So I'm gonna go back to annotate and just draw a line here, and I'm gonna type 24 feet. So this line here is 24 feet long, right? There it is. So therefore, this should be extended to here. And to do that, I just click on this and I go to scale. And scale is going to ask me to select the first point. Then it's going to ask me to select the next point. And then it's going to ask me to say, okay, select the point that you want to scale to. And that will be this point. So there are 3 clicks. So now this is scaled up to the 24 feet. And if I take a look on it, changes here. Right, you can say that this is 24 now. All right, you got that?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem. All right, we're gonna keep it moving.
Small,
Sir,
as you
good
can see
question
here.
as well.
Yeah.
My what do I put it? My sketch doesn't necessarily have to match exactly what I do, right?
Exactly. In most cases, it wouldn't.
Yeah,
because
now
when
that
you're
I see-
sketching, you're not.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Which is the whole point of this, as I'm saying. When you're sketching, you want to be aware of measurements, but you don't want to be bogged down by it. Like, you don't want to spend the whole day trying to decide what size bed, or you want to just sketch the bed, sketch the couch. You know what I mean? So you can get the idea out of your head. And then you refine the sketch using some lines. And that's what we're doing now. So if it's not lining up, that's fine. And you're going to see I'm going to have the same issue with my thing here. So,
And that is because of our scale. So,
Yes, sir.
remember,
Sorry to pause you
if I
again.
click on the blank space here,
fun.
Sir,
Go
the
ahead.
thing is, so you have to remember, I never get to do that sketch yet. Was this sketch hand drawn or?
Yes, it's hand draw. Well, you could use whatever device you want, right? You can draw it by hand, or you could have used. I use Mirrorboard to draw the sketch. All right.
Okay.
Right. Totally up to you.
Okay.
And remember, even if you, as I said, if you fall a little behind while we're doing this, don't worry about it. We can ask questions in the next session, or we'll always have the video, guys. All right. So rather than me repeating over, when you're watching it, you just repeat that section of the video. Yeah, we're using up the technology, right?
yeah, 1 to 50, and that will make the text show up much more large. All right, so now that that's done, I have a general idea here. Now my drawing is scaled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my annotate line tool, and I'm going to just trace this out.
So usually what you want to do with a sketch is just get one reference measurement, and then you just trace out the rest, and then you tweak it. Because remember, your sketch is going to be equal when you're tracing it, right? You know, so don't worry about it. Just trace it out.
Modify the image to be a bit darker so that you can see the lines. Whichever one of these options is fine. So in this case, I'm going to update the image so I can better see the lines. Now to do that, if you're using Windows 10 or 11, we're actually just going to go over to the desktop. That's what we're seeing here. And here I have my image. I'm going to right click it and choose open in Windows Image Editor. That's here. And I'm just going to go to edit. That's here. And I'm going to go to adjust. And I'm going to just take the brightness all the way down. So now I should be able to see my lines. I'm going to save as a copy.
Sir, question.
There we go. I'm going to call this one darker.
Yeah, man, go ahead.
And
couldn't we have just changed the color of the line?
Yeah,
in
you
the settings
could.
in Revit?
You could do it that way as well. So whichever one suits you better.
Image, and what I want to do is I want to reload from a different file. I'm going to go to desktop and choose darker one. There we go. And now it's darker. And now I'm able to see my lines with no problem, right? So this is one way that we could do this. So now what we're going to do, we're going to trace our initial sketch. And from this now, we're going to start to generate our floor plan.
So notice also that I'm using the dark mode in Revit. So if your Revit looks a little bright, that's fine. All right, I'm using the dark mode.
This more clearly, and I'm going to click this line here. I'm going to go to my modify tab and go to copy. I'm gonna copy this over here. And let's go to annotate and go to detail line. That's where we'll draw our detail lines. And all I'm doing now is I'm just putting some line work to represent based on my sketch. Doesn't have to be exactly accurate because our sketch wasn't exactly that accurate to begin with, but we just need enough to start drawing. So I'm going to move this over here now, and now I'm going to start to, okay, wait, we got one thing. Let's do the slope. So I'm going to do a general slope, maybe to kind of average out everything, maybe like this. There we go. And I'm going to do one that represents the water. That's good enough. All right, now we can kind of put, actually we can just hide this. Just right click and we're going to say hide elements. Let's bring it back one sec. So what we're going to do is go down here to where it says reveal hidden elements, and we're going to bring it back just so we can put back this roof line. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go back down here and choose to hide elements. All right, so now what we're going to try and do, now we are sketching again, but this time we're sketching with a little bit more precision. All right, this is what we call a more refined sketch. So I'm going to go for my dimension tool here, and let me get an idea of how tall my floor is, and it says that it's 2,560. Actually, what I want to do, I want to display feet and millimeters. It will just help us to assume some of these proportions and dimensions. So to do that, I'm going to head over to manage. Then I'm going to head over to project units, and I am going to head over to length here, and we have millimeters here. I'm going to put the millimeter symbol. I'm going to say OK. All right. I'm going to choose OK like that. Now, what I also want to do is I want to go into the properties for my dimensions here, and I'm going to go to edit type. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to where it says I am looking for alternate units, and I'm going to say I want an alternate unit to be below, and I want that to be feet, and I want the symbol to be FT, and I want it to be 1 decimal place, maybe 2 decimal places. No, 1 decimal place is good. All right, now my primary units, I can click on this, and actually this is where I would go to add the millimeters, not in manage. So here is where we said we want the unit to be millimeters, and I'm going to choose OK and OK. So what I'm doing now is actually I am modifying this family, right? And this family that I have is called linear dimension style, and this was actually built in with some default settings, but what I did was go in and change these settings. All right, so now that I know this is about 8 feet, and I can actually start to make more specific adjustments to my original sketch, right? So I think I want this to be 10 feet. So I'm going to click on this line here, and then I can actually click in here and write 10 feet. There we go. All right. I think 10 feet is good. Then
So guys, in my case, of course, this is going to look a little bit different for you, because your sketch, it looks different from mine. The idea though is that I started from my section, and then I projected my section to make my plan more accurate. maybe for you, you would actually start drawing your plan. So, so for example, who is here now? Kristen, is Kristen here?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yeah, man. So where would you, where would you start to do your more refined drafting sketch in your case? Would you start from the section or the plan? How would you do it? Or I should ask, how are you doing it?
Well, I would always start from the plan
Right.
and then work my way up.
And then work your way up, right? In my case, I had drawn the section first, and I didn't really work out the plan yet because I didn't have any internal walls or anything like that, right? And this is the thing, guys. The whole purpose of doing this line work is just you're literally just using it to get a judgment of sizes and heights. Because when you do the side sketch first, you know, it might look like how you want it to look. But when you start to actually apply, you know, heights to the railing, heights to the doors, things start to shift a little bit. And the general idea is that the more tools you have to work with, the more you can refine your idea, but the longer it takes. So there's an interesting balance between number of tools and the idea that you want to execute. And this is why you find that especially when you're in CSA, guys, like you will see some persons who maybe don't use the computer a lot. Maybe they just do hand drawing mainly, and they don't go into a lot of 3D rendering and that stuff. And then you notice that they're way ahead. And then you notice some persons that, you know, do a lot of technological stuff. Like myself, I used to do a lot of that in CSA. And, you know, it took me a while to really learn the balance between the tools, my capability, and the objective that I want to achieve. You guys are just learning that now. Some of us are quick with certain tools. I remember there are some people who use SketchUp because it's really quick. And then I would tell persons, oh, I use 3D Max, and persons would say, yeah, but that's complicated. Why would I go through all the trouble using 3D Max? But then when we had the competition, I was just as fast as the person with SketchUp. And I don't know, Leonardo, why do you think that is?
Trying to practice, because I like SketchUp too.
Right, but it just comes down to the program that you use. So, you know, somebody can use Microsoft Paint and move much faster than the person using Photoshop. Or it could be the inverse. What I'm trying to get to, guys, is that you guys are now figuring out, how do I balance the tools that I know? How do I balance that with time? Because for me, I can use Revit and I can draw a wall tool and window tool, and I'm just as efficient as the person that's just drawing lines, or vice versa. The trick is that you guys are learning now. So you don't really know how much of an expert you are yet, right? And while you're starting to build out this knowledge, you can determine, you know, what your workflow is for creating for your production. By the time you reach fourth year, you're supposed to already know, okay, yeah man, SketchUp is my thing. I do my schematic design in SketchUp. For some people, oh, I do everything in AutoCAD. I do my schematic design in AutoCAD, and then I move to Revit or whatever. The way that I'm suggesting now is not the only way. So I don't want you to take my word as gospel that, hey, if you have a design, you have to draw it by hand first, and then you have to do a 2D sketch of it first, and then you have to model it first. There are people who design completely in Revit, completely, from the sketch all the way to construction drawings. I am suggesting a way, and that is partially based off of my experience, but also what I observe happens in CSA over the years, right? Revit is very deep, and you don't have to go as deep, but Revit kind of forces you to. Like, you can't just, like, if you're drawing a wall, you have to know, okay, what's the height of the wall? You know, what the material is made of. You know, there are properties for you to fill in. And what you find is that when your brain has to think, when your brain has to think about those properties, it loses brain cells on the design. And that's why a lot of times, guys, and it still happens today, you have persons that spend a lot of time in BIM, in modeling, in Revit, in SketchUp, in 3D Max or whatever, and somehow when they get to the end of their design, they realize, oh crap, the bathroom has no door. And that hasn't happened to anybody here? When you pin up your plans, you realize there's no door in the bathroom? No? It's just me one this happened to? Okay, fine. Anyway, the point of what I'm trying to get to, guys, is that I want...
Not me as yet, sir, because we don't do much building drawings yet, or building designs.
All right. Well, I mean, fine, but this is just the idea of sometimes some very basic things are left off, because we put a lot of energy into the technology, and the technology demands a lot of energy from us. Revit demands that we know so much things, right? But we also have to dedicate time to the actual design and that kind of stuff. So the approach that I'm suggesting that you guys take is, when you're trying to come up with something from scratch, from a white page, try to have as least tools that is in front of your thought process. Just try to have just your idea and a way to get your idea on paper or on screen. Make that be as free-flowing as possible. Don't too worry about what bed model, what wall height, what window style. Don't go too deep down in those things when you're just trying to get ideas out on a paper or on a page or something, right? Then the next step, before you commit to actually modeling something in 3D, because that is a big commitment, before you do that, make sure you hash out the basics. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm doing the basics. I'm not worrying too much about balcony style and, you know, thickness of the roof and those things. I'm just trying to say, is this slope too steep? You know, because when I sketch it, it was looking good, but now when I look on the height, it's too high. You know what I mean? I'm just using line work to help me to gauge these things. And I'm purposefully limiting the amount of tools that is at my disposal. Because when you're in drafting view, you can't, like, there's no wall and there's no windows. So my brain doesn't go there because the tools aren't there. But that's the way that my brain works. Your brain might be different. Like, you might want to have all of those tools at your disposal for you to hash out a design. I can only give you my observation over the years, and you can either say, "Boy, you know, might be sir onto something," you know, or you might say no, or you might say, "No, man, I want to model everything in Revit." And the way that Revit promotes itself, it promotes itself as you can do everything in Revit, including the sketch. And you certainly can. But the one missing equation is that, how does your brain work? Like, how do you process a design? Because it's different from other people, right? Right. So, Shamario,
Are you here, Shamario?
Yes, sir.
Right. So if you are going from sketch to 3D model, like not considering what we're doing now, what would your process be?
From sketch to 3D modeling, sir.
Yeah. You know, you have an idea for whatever design, your pavilion or something, and you know what, let me ask, what would your overall design process be? Maybe you don't even sketch. So what would be your design process? Your production process?
So I would move from sketching into sections.
Cool. How would you produce those sections? Would you also sketch it, or would you?
I would sketch the section.
You would sketch the section, all right.
And then from there, once I finalize some form of section and some form of plan, I would draw it in Revit and pull up the 3D modeling in Revit.
And pull up the 3D model. All right, cool. So in your opinion, I know that we are doing this 2D thing, you know, for the purpose of, you know, you agreed, because I need to mark your 2D drawing, but not considering that it's a part of your grade. Would you be doing anything between, as you said, pulling up your 3D in Revit and the sketch? Would you do any kind of 2D production between those two?
No.
Okay, so this is like a different approach that we're doing here than what you're used to.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, another approach that I take as well is, for me personally, when I'm working on projects, I do most of my sketching in a 3D app. I do most of my sketching in SketchUp. So, you know, you guys are in an environment of learning. So some of the things that you do in this module is about learning. It's not necessarily about, oh, this is the best way to do it. It's also about learning. I have to check a checkbox that say, oh, you guys know how to use the drafting tool in Revit, right? And you guys have to check a checkbox to say, oh, I know how to do that as well. Now, what you choose to do for your production is totally up to you. You might choose to not go through this step of drawing things out in 2D, or you might. It's totally up to you. But personally, I do my sketching in SketchUp, and then I move to Revit, right? I know people who does their sketching in Illustrator. Like, they don't even draw by hand. They draw everything, line work, in Illustrator. And then, they go again after Illustrator. Did they go to Revit? Yeah, I think they went to Revit. I also know persons who use, for example, I don't remember which one of the programs on the iPad, and they do all the sketching there. Morpholio. Anybody ever heard of Morpholio for the iPad? Anybody try it?
Yes, sir.
No? All right. I try it, but I find that I'm not that much of an artist, at least for hand drawings. But yeah, I know people who use Morpholio, and Morpholio has all of these tools to help you to scale or whatever, and then they just go straight from Morpholio into Revit, right? So I'm saying this to say, guys, you are discovering your own path. My job is to show you some options and recommend the one that fits the broadest cross section of persons. And as I learn, as you see and as I see, there are still persons here that do drafting in AutoCAD, and they teach AutoCAD in high school. And drafting is still in, when I said drafting, I'm talking about 2D drawings, meaning you're not drawing a wall tool or a window tool in 3D and you choose the height of the window. It's just raw, dumb lines. I like to call them dumb lines. That is still something that is very much used in architecture. And I find that too much people default back to run into AutoCAD when Revit can also do 2D lines as well. How you choose to use them is fine. In this module, I'm asking you to use it to do this checkpoint, but it's totally up to you how you choose to use this skill going forward. All right. All right. So what you see me here doing now is I'm actually partially designing with lines. You know, I'm saying, I wonder if I want my railing to be this angle or that kind of stuff. I also do this, as I say, in SketchUp as well. But I find that with BIM, you would try to stick inside of a BIM environment. Everything is just more compatible. And guess what? In the next module, all being well, and I still am teaching you guys, we're going to learn how to do a little bit of designing in Revit as well. All right, but that's going to be in there. All right, so what is the mission for today, guys? The mission is you guys are to give me a plan and a section. Is it a section or is it an elevation? Let me see what that is. Section, right? A floor plan and a section. You have to give me that as a 2D sketch, and it has to be done in Revit, right? Don't worry about printing and plot size and sheet size. It's not about that. It's just about using the 2D features in Revit. All right. So you're going to finish that for me. And I'm gonna, this is gonna be also counted as classwork because I want us to be working on it in class, right? I will just let my method of doing it continue to play out, but it's gonna be different for you. I know that while you're drawing, you'll probably have questions. If it turns out that we're not in the class when you have questions, you can check me back in the practical session. Sorry, in the lecture session later. All right, any question, guys? So far?
Sir, is this recording up as it?
As in, well, no, I'm going to put it up when this class finish.
Okay, sir, because I fell behind a little bit, so I want to.
No, that's fine. Remember, you know, I'm not, like, I'm not right at this point. I'm not teaching you anything new because you're in the drafting environment and you're just using lines. It's just lines and copy and trim, and so you know it's like freestyle now because everybody's model is different. So you know.
Sir, I have a question too. For example, I want to make some changes to the sketches I uploaded to the website. Can I do that?
That's fine, but you don't have to re-upload it.
Oh,
because
okay.
I'm not going to be like saying, hey, you had this door in your sketch and you don't have this door in your final model.
Oh,
right?
okay, awesome.
Right.
All right, thank you.
And by the way, that is how the design process is. When you sketch something first, it looks nice in the sketch, but then when you start to figure it out, you realize that certain things don't fit. So it is expected that there will be some amount of adjustment. All right, so I'm gonna just continue showing you what I did from, because remember, I'm building this model alongside you guys, but all of us are gonna have different like designs. The one thing that it's all common with is that we must all have the same, like, you know, it's a 2-story and the dimensions of each story is different. It has to have a stair. The top floor has to be able to see out because it's an observation kind of a deck. And then below needs to have walls because it's supposed to be enclosed, right? So there are some similarities that we're going to have, but the building is going to look totally different. All right. Okay.
Sir, we have to upload a section and a floor plan.
That's correct. A section and a floor plan. I believe you have to send it in 2 formats. I need to remind myself
Sir?
for this module. Yeah, hang on a sec. Let me just check the delivery here. Right, so where we are, coursework, checkpoint 2, schematic drawings here. Right. So the working file and the PDF. Yeah. For the PDF, I mean, I'm gonna show you how to do it. So that's fine. But you literally just Control P and print. Don't worry about the sheet size. There's no title block. I mean, you must have your name so on the PDF so I can see your name and stuff. But we're not going to be doing an architectural title sheet. Right? I just need to be able to see your 2D drafting down. I want to also give you a tip I gave you earlier. I'm reminding you again. You can, if you want to know how your work will be graded, please don't hesitate to go over to the class website and click on the grade section and take a look on what the different criteria are so you don't leave off something very basic and lose marks. So for example, for the sketch and schematic CAD drawing is 5%, and you can see that I'm marking for, do you have the floor plan, do you have a section, do you have a site with building, does your site have contours with labels, does it have a water body identified, and so forth. For your schematic sketch, I'm looking on the drawing quality, you know, the construction terminology, like when you're drawing, does a door do something weird? Meaning, is your door taller than the transom? Because that's not logical in construction terms, right? So,
quick question.
Yeah.
In terms of the schematic drawings we have to submit, do we have to actually draw doors and windows on them, or can we just
I would say you need to show the openings. It is up to you how far you want to take it, because
all right, so in terms of grade wise, what is necessary?
I mean, you need to show openings. I will put it minimum like that, you know. But there's this ambiguous thing called overall drawing quality. I like to always put that in when I'm grading, because some of us put out the effort to do more stuff, and for those of you who do that, that's a good area for you to be rewarded in, right? So I'm going to leave that one in a gray area up to you. Obviously, you must have openings. You must have, you know, there's no need to go all wild and crazy, guys. Please. I'm just saying, at minimum, it must show the openings. It must have dimensions. I'm going to be looking for dimensions, because the whole purpose of doing a 2D drafting sketch is that you want to confirm on your sizes. All right, guys? So it must have that as well.
Sir?
Yeah.
The link on the mirror board to upload the sketches was not working for me.
All right. I think I need to, let me check the mirror board. Let me see what's happening with that link. Remember, all links, the default location for everything with the module is on the website. I know there might be some situations where I might ask you to do something in class and the link to do it is on the mirror board and not on the website. You know, but like for that, the submission for because this is a major project, all of the submissions are on the handouts. Where did you see that link, by the way? Let me try and find it.
Yeah, I honestly cannot remember because I was trying last week.
Well, I did do some screenshots of the handout, but they're not what's the word? They're not hyperlinked, so you can't click it here. I just paste them here so we could discuss it.
Oh, okay, sir.
Right. So as far
Thank-
as I know, all the links should be on the
It's on the handout.
handout, yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Also, I came late because I didn't know that there was a different link to click on for class.
All right. Yes, sir. So this for me, as it relates to attendance, I take attendance different from participation, right? If I needed to see if you attended, I would look in my Zoom record that generates for me, and I could say, oh, this person was here for 70% of the time, or this person left, because Zoom tells me all that stuff. So for me, my main concern is participation more than attendance, even though you technically you have to attend to participate.
I understand that, sir.
So yeah, that's fine. As usual, the class recordings are there, and the summaries are going to be there as soon as the class done. So
Thank you very much, sir.
cool. All right, guys. So I'm going to be here. So I want us to be working on model while I work on mine here, right? And of course, if you have any questions, I'm here.
So this is the plan with 2 windows. And these 2 windows would fall maybe like right here. One is here and one is about here. So that's good enough. The balcony stops here. So I'm going to pull this back to here. So the balcony kind of stops there. And then here is the opening into this other section there. So I'm going to just draw a box. And maybe this is a much taller opening. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Could be.
Guys, there's also something else I want to highlight. It's total. I think I did mention about don't worry too much about the details. So like the railing style, don't try to go in and try to draw your balusters because you want it to have a particular style. The sketch is primarily for you to confirm proportions and dimensions and stuff like that. I don't want you to, because if you look on the handout, you see this very nice AutoCAD drawing here. And as I was saying earlier, I don't want you to get bogged down into trying to represent, oh, these are the dimensions for the lumber that's going to be on the side of the house and all that. No, I'm not marking for those details, guys. I'm marking for is the proportion with the angle of the roof and where you position your door. Is it logical? Like things like that. Don't worry about like the sink and the stove and those things. I'm not asking you to do a full-on floor plan like that, right? Your measurements, I have to see the dimensions to know if you are supposed to confirm that the spaces that you do are reasonable and they make sense. I showed you this example earlier where I sketched a room that's 10 by 10 and I put a bed and a couch in there. And obviously the bed and the couch can't fit in this 5-foot space. So the sketch would tell me that. You get what I'm saying? The 2D schematic drawing would tell me that. If you submitted this sketch to me last week that has a bed and a couch in this space, I'm not going to care much about if this bed or how this bed would work in that space. Like the fact, because it's a sketch and you're trying to get your ideas out. So beyond a certain limit, I'm going to be like, this is an idea. So I'm not reading too much into it. But for this 2D schematic sketch, drafting sketch you're doing, like it have to make dimensional sense, right? Just like what I showed you guys earlier. So keep that in mind. Don't get lost in the weeds of trying to do a, full-on floor plan. But we're not doing, as a matter of fact, in this module, we're not doing any kind of architectural drawing. That's going to come next year when we do BIM.
This module concentrates on modeling, designing and modeling. How do I sketch something and model it in Revit? That is what we're concentrating on. So don't get caught up in a floor plan and symbols and all that. You need to have some kind of label, because I think I'm marking for labels. So meaning that, you know, you're trying to have a title. It needs, I mean, it's just one space. I don't think you have to label stairs because it should be very obvious. But if there's something that's not very obvious, you should especially label it. Like you don't need to label window, but you might want to label something like you're going to have a louver area for this. All right. I'm trying to just reel out all of the tips and tricks while I have you here. So just take note.
Like that. So I'm going to end up with kind of 2 decks kind of looking like that, and more than likely the support that's going to be here, you're going to need another support here like this, and quite likely this support is going to continue in the background to support this here. Now this is still a 4x4 support. Maybe it would actually be thicker, but let's not worry about that yet. For now, we have these 2 decks. So we have a deck here, and then we have a lower deck here, and they're offset about 2 feet, thereabout. So we have an upper and a lower deck like that. I don't know, could be interesting. And then we have this other member that's going to be here, and we could do something interesting with this. Let's talk about the upper floor. Well, like how the lower floor is a little bit complex, we're going to make the upper floor simple, where it's just a simple wraparound deck. So I'm going to copy this like 6 inches.
By the way, guys, from my design that I did a 2-tier ground floor. So my ground floor has 2 levels. You don't have to do that for yours. I just chose to do something a little more complex. Just in case some of you all choose to do something complex, I can respond to it in my tutorials with you guys. All right. You can just have one flat floor, right? But for me, I had a kind of an upper deck and a lower deck and all of these things. So don't remember, this is my design. You have your design.
I thought we had to have 2 floors.
No, sir, hold on. You have to have 2 levels, yeah.
Oh,
but
okay.
I chose to have like 2 levels on my ground floor, where I step down to my deck, right?
Gotcha.
So you don't have to follow me to do that, right? So for the rest of my tutorials, you're gonna see me all my walls, all my foundation is gonna be based on the fact that I have these 2 levels. Just in case you're wondering, oh sir, I have a step down and I don't have one. It's your design is totally up to you, right? Just don't go too crazy with it, because you know I want you guys to finish. You know, at the same time, there's marks allocated to creativity, but it's not the focus of this module. All right. So if you do a box, you'll still get a good grade, but if you do an interesting box, you'll get a slightly better grade. Just saying. All right.
Level windows. So maybe it will be something like that. Maybe this area here, this section here will be open. So,
and that's the other thing. You see, while I'm here drawing this in 2D, like I'm not really worried about what the other side would look like just yet. I'm just inferring what my elevation would look like. Purposefully limiting my point of view, because sometimes when you're designing, if you just concentrate on one side primarily, it helps. In other cases, it can be bad. So, you know, proceed with caution.
I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure what to do with this space. maybe this is another kind of window here. I'm not quite sure. Or maybe we just leave it closed off like that, and put the windows like that. And then this is kind of just a large overhang like that. All right. I think we're pretty much there. Let's just represent our foundations. So we would have perhaps some foundation piles like this. There we go. But this is our water level here, so we would possibly have foundation levels like that. And let's use this tool here. Let's see that. Ready for here. Let's just cut these. All right, and this is kind of our water in the background. So essentially what we have done is we have done a more, I would say, detailed sketch. Before we actually start to create the model, we have pretty much created a more detailed layout. Now this layout doesn't have all the details, but the things that we do here are, I would say, more to scale. We still have some questions to answer. For example, what does this look like in front elevation? I wouldn't try to create that. I would actually try now to start creating my model from what I had here. I think this is good enough to get a general idea of dimensions, because this is actually to scale now, so I can actually measure. I know that this deck is about 10 feet there. I know the overall size is about 20 feet wide by about 15 feet. Maybe this could even be a little wider, perhaps. So I was aiming for 20 by 20, so I could actually make this much wider. And in terms of the length, there we go. All right, so what I can actually do is to make the dimensions not the same color as my outline walls, I can right click and go to override. This time I'll override the category. So the category dimensions, I would override that, and I could just make it half tone. So now the dimensions are half the tone. So this is my building here. It kind of has two levels where we have an upper deck, and then we kind of ramp down to this lower deck, which comes back out to this main deck here. This area here is looking a little small. I'm gonna save this. Yeah, this is about 4 feet, which is basically just enough space to walk. So what I would do is I would maybe make this a little bit wider, maybe 6 feet at least. So I'll carry this down some more. So that would mean that some things in my elevation would actually change. I think these elements here, that's everything here. And I'll just carry it forward, and you can see it actually outlines, and everything just snaps and carries for me nicely. All right. So this is a little bigger, but I think this makes a bit more sense in terms of the size. Right, so we come in here and we have this upper area here. All of down here will be all wraparound windows. and we can go down to this lower area here, come back out to this deck. This deck is underneath this upper covering that's here. Now we can actually do the upper floor plan, but I think we're gonna leave that because this design will develop as we go on further. But we can already see, I'm gonna click reveal, and I'm going to click on this and say unhide element. So we can kind of see where we started from, which is basically this, where, you know, we kind of are trying to decide what things are. But before we could choose to develop this more in Sketch, but instead we carried it into this environment and continued sketching, but now with actual lines, so we have a better idea of what the sizes are. Nevertheless, it's still a schematic drawing because there is still a lot of details that we need to add, but it is enough for us to go forward with this to start to map out these spaces in 3D. While we do that, a lot of other solutions might show themselves, but also problems might pop up as well. But we're gonna push forward to create this in a 3D model.
All right, guys. So, are you guys clear on what you're supposed to do?
Yes, sir.
All right. I see your answer for the class. All right, so I want you guys to go forth, finish this schematic sketch. I'm going to see you again later. We're going to reveal 2 more topics. It might be a pretty short class because there's not going to be any presentation for this class. The presentation will begin next class. If you're not in any groups, we'll deal with it in that class. And if you have any trouble with creating that design sketch, we'll deal with it in that class as well. So let's use the time you have here to finish up your 2D drafting schematic design.
So we should put on a sheet and just upload it when we finish.
Right. You don't even have to put it on a sheet. You can just print it directly from your viewport. All you have to do is just literally go to File and go to Print. And when it comes up, you choose Current Window. So whatever you see in the window is what will print. And that's it. Because as I said, we're not concentrating on any architectural production. It's all about just modeling, getting from sketch to model, and how we can use Revit to do that. All right,
sir. No problem.
All right, cool. All right, guys. I'll see you again later. All right.
Okay, so now we're gonna open Revit. Now,